Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of the Mission Matters Business Podcast, your source for all things business. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, missionmatters.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, today I have Richard Haasnoot on the line, and he's founder and CEO over at Innovate2Grow Experts and also host at Innovation Best Practices Podcast. Richard, welcome to the show.
Great to be here because I deeply believe in what you are doing because mission really does matter.
Oh, man, Richard, and it's great to have a fellow podcaster on the line. I want to get into your podcast, and we're going to talk about that because I love sharing great podcasts with my audience. But before we get into that, and also today's topic, which we're going to talk about the key to consistently doubling innovation success rates, which a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives listening, and this is going to be a hot topic for them. But first, I want to get into Innovate2Grow Experts. Tell us a little bit more about your company, please.
Yeah, I started the company a few decades ago after many years of doing innovation at large companies like Procter & Gamble and Gallo. And I did it because I knew that the failure rate with innovation was extraordinarily high for companies. And namely, in the last 55 years, the failure rate has been between 75 and 80% of all innovations fail. Conversely, 20 to 25% are successful. And if you're a personal inventor, unfortunately, the failure rate is 98% or more. With that kind of failure rate, I decided it would be terribly important if my passion for innovation could help people double their innovation success rate. And fortunately, the research on the main cause for the failure rate is exceptionally clear. Innovations are not better enough than the competition that they need to get people to switch from. And if they're not better enough, then the failure rate is extraordinarily high. And you can double your innovation success rate from the 25 to 20% that I mentioned earlier to 50% plus if your innovation is dramatically better than your competition. If you don't set the bar there, you're going to have very high chances for failure. And what I further learned was that achieving dramatically better innovations is extraordinarily difficult. And ultimately, over the years, we developed, in coordination with a number of very talented people, the 8 most proven innovation best practices, which, working together, have a long history of helping people double their innovation success rate. I'll mention only 3 of the 8 just to give your listeners a flavor of what this is all about. To achieve dramatically better, you need to develop multiple types of innovation. And Larry Keeley of the Doblin Group many years ago developed the 10 types of innovation, proven in research that the more types of innovation you use, the greater your chances for success. And for example, the iPhone used 5 types of innovation, and the Model T, going way back, also used 5 types of innovation. Those 5 types of innovation individually are good, but they add up to being dramatically better. Second, if you want to be successful with innovation, you need an awful lot of high-quality ideas. And we use quantum idea generation 2.0 that's been proven in 2 Oklahoma State University studies, but more importantly in the real world, to generate more than 12 times the ideas that you get from brainstorming, and a quality of ideas that you will never get from brainstorming. And the third type of innovation best practice that I'll mention is if you want to know your chances for success, then you need to use the best practice called Merwin technology that very accurately predicts the chances for success for any innovation that you have in any type of business with any type of B2B, B2C, or any category. So if you use those 8 most proven innovation best practices, you have a great opportunity to consistently double your innovation success rate. And we've got some experience in the real world with this. Our team has led more innovation projects, front-end innovation projects, I should be clear, which is where the inventing happens. We've led more innovation projects than any other team in America, and we're the only company using the 8 most proven innovation best practices. So that gives your listeners a very quick overview of if you want to double your innovation success rate, you have to use best practices, and it helps if you have a team on your side that's led more innovation sessions than any other team in America. I hope that helps your listeners.
Richard, where do you find that? And because I get what you're saying, and I know this isn't going to be the same for every business or founder or people you work with. I get that, but I do know that as long as you've been doing this, as many decades as you've been doing this, I should say, that certain themes tend to arise. Where do you find that a lot of people kind of catch themselves, like get tripped up on this process of trying to create something truly unique and innovative?
That's a great question, and I want your listeners to kind of really pay attention to the question that you just asked, because there's so many challenges. Sometimes innovators are not trying to develop an innovative solution that solves the problem that anybody's really interested in. So no surprise when you launch the innovation, they go, I don't have that problem, so I won't buy it. But more frequently, people are trying to solve a problem or optimize an opportunity, and they stop in their innovation effort by saying, well, this is different and better than what the competition is doing. And it may or may not be, but let's for the moment assume that it is. But if you're a user of any type of product and you see a new innovative product that's come onto the marketplace, you just need to reflect on your own experience. And I use toothpaste for example for people. What would it take from me, Richard, to switch from Crest toothpaste to Colgate? It would take an extraordinary amount of Colgate being better than Crest. And I've got the research to prove that. Mm-hmm. So that's how we get to, you need to set the bar if you want to double your innovation success rate at developing multiple types of innovation that add up to being dramatically better. People stop with one innovation when they really have the opportunity to use 9 other types of innovation that together can make it dramatically better. Steve Jobs knew this with every bone in his body, and that's why he was as successful as he was. And Elon, too. I mean, if you've ever driven a Tesla, and I do, it is dramatically better than any other car on the road because of multiple types of innovation. So good question. First of all, make sure you're solving a problem. Second of all, that you're solving it in a way that's dramatically better than other people are doing it today.
Can you talk a little bit about managing expectations? Because some companies, and there's some big companies listening right now, enterprise level. Then there's also your startup founders right now that maybe aren't funded, and they may be solopreneurs. And I know on this whole spectrum of people, there's going to be different expectations that need to be managed. But can you just talk about what that means to you in general?
Yeah, expectations are important, and they really go back to what I've been pounding the drum on here is if you set the bar at achieving dramatically better, then you have a chance of getting there. I will tell you that over the decades that we've been doing this, Adam, we have been hired by major Fortune 500 and 100 companies to develop a specific innovation to a problem they're trying to solve, and that's where it starts and where it ends. Their expectations are so low.
Yeah. My head hurts, by the way, just with you just thinking about that call and you getting that call. I know that's what you love and you thrive on, but in me, I'm like, oh, my heart hurts. They want me to solve what?
Yeah. Oh, I've had those. I've actually I had a major international client say, we want you to do, and I'll fill in the blank, and I went, huh?
Yeah.
You want me to make it 3 minutes shorter to do what? And then they told me they had hired 2 previous major innovation companies, McKinsey being one of them, by the way, that failed to solve their problem, and they hired my company as their 3rd one to do it. And we solved it by noon of the first day of our creative session for reasons that can be a conversation for another day. But I mean, yes, it's yes, there are all kinds of expectations, and I would just urge your listeners to have the courage to be bold enough to set your expectations at developing something that can be dramatically better than some, most, or all of your competition. That's when you have the chances to achieve 50, 60, 70% chances for success.
Man, I love it, Richard. So absolutely amazing. So final question, a two-part question. So part one of the question, if somebody's listening to this, and they're obviously interested in what you're doing over at Innovate2Grow Experts, what are the right types of fits, either company or founder-wise, that are normally a good type of fit to work with Innovate2Grow Experts, number one? And number two, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Yeah, good question. Thank you. We've done everything from potato chips to offshore drilling to financial services to banking to we've done just about every kind of project you would imagine. And right now, my clients are all in software engineering, with Google being one of them, for example. And so there's no product category, B2B, B2C, that we probably haven't. We've done them all. And if somebody wants to know why they think we can do that, then they should contact me at my email at richard@i2ge. That's I2ge.com. And obviously then go to my website at Innovate2Grow Experts, which is at I2ge.com.
And I'm not letting you off the hook that easy, Richard. Tell us about this podcast. I thought you were going to leave the podcast too. Tell my listeners where they go to listen to that and what kind of content they can expect, because I'm excited to listen to it after talking to you.
Yeah, well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's on all the standard places like iTunes and Spotify and all those sorts of places. It's also on my website at i2ge.com/podcast. And it's an extraordinarily wide range of best practices. I think I'm over 300 episodes on it. I do a minimum of interviews. Most of it is reporting case studies across a wide range of things, the personal characteristics and skills necessary to be a successful innovator, a very robust series of podcasts with content that's practical. Adam, I've never been a theory guy. I'm a very practical guy, and if something doesn't work in the real world, I really have never been interested. I've been respectful, but never really interested, and that's what I've tried to populate my podcast with.
Oh man, love it. And I'm not a theory guy either. I don't have the I don't want to be. I don't have enough time or bandwidth mentally for it. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't. That's why I like podcasting, and that's why I felt I came to it. But that being said, Richard, it's really been a pleasure having you on the show today. Appreciate you coming on and sharing more of your background and all the great work you're doing over at Innovate2Grow Experts. And also, all the listeners, definitely go check that out. Innovation Best Practices Podcast. Definitely think you're going to enjoy that. And to the audience, don't forget also subscribe to this podcast while you're at it. If you're a first-time listener, we'd love to have you back. And if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, Mission Matters Business, definitely give us a subscribe there, but also leave us some comments on the video. Love to know what kind of projects and things that you're working on. And Richard, thanks again for coming on the show.
Great to be with you, Adam.